Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. If you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Season 1 of Castlevania Nocturne. Here to discuss, as always, the 17th generation of Belmont family, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, I wish I could use a whip half as well as any of these Belmonts, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a skill honed in the generation.
I can only imagine. You have the blood, like fighting with a whip. Oh, it just looks so hard, but they make it look effortless. Gooch,
Right.
I'm very excited to talk about this. I was saying this before we started. I probably would not have watched this, not because it didn't look good, but because I have to like make myself sit down and watch TV because I'll just game. I will.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very glad that you brought this up to do a review for because it was very good and I'm excited to get into it.
So why don't you start it off? What did you think of Castlevania Nocturne?
I fucking adored it. It was really
Awesome.
like from the beginning. The first episode was a little bit slow, but like,
Okay.
and then or like not a little. It wasn't slow, but it was kind of ramping things up. It was getting you into it. I love that they set it up with Richter and how like him and his mom were in the new world. She gets taken down, sets up kind of the plot thread with that vampire. I can't remember his name.
Oryx.
Yeah, it starts off really strong with that. Kind of gets into it for those first two episodes of like you're establishing where Richter is at and how everything's going, and then it just fucking picks right back up. I really fucking enjoyed my time with it. What about you?
Yeah, I liked it as well. This is the sequel to, the original show, Castlevania, starring Sypha, Trevor, and Alucard. This is a much different show with a different Belmont, with a different character dynamic. Instead of like, this trio, and I guess it starts in the first season as just a duo, but it's Richter and Maria is more like a sister to Richter, and then you have what's her name?
Not Annette.
Annette, yeah.
Is it Annette?
Yeah, and then you have it. I know the other guy dies. Spoilers kind of early on, but you have Annette, so it's a trio, but again, like very different dynamic. Just like everything that the villains are different, everything is different.
Well, it's set in the 1700s. Yeah, 1792.
Yeah, so it's at the
French Revolution.
Right. I would say the peak of the French Revolution, which is interesting. Much different time period than we had in the original series.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that being said, I think it just does, Castlevania Nocturne does, it's a great show, but it does so much differently that the original show just wasn't doing. So I think like they took the premise of like, let's do Castlevania again, but let's just do something like
completely
different. Even like villain wise.
Absolutely. They
I
lean away from like the Catholic Church kind of and stuff like that.
I mean, they still are kind of there.
No, for sure, but there's like more gods and stuff and things involved, which I thought was somewhat interesting for sure. I mean, like very involved, I should say.
Yeah.
But no, I think the setting is a really good call and very interesting. Is this based in the game at all? Is there any games?
Probably.
Okay,
Yeah. Again,
no.
we're neither of us are Castlevania gamers.
Right.
I do think, we'll save it for the end when we talk about it, but Richter is from, I want to say Rondo of Blood. What game is Richter Belmont from in? Rondo of Blood, I was right. And Symphony of the Night, but he is from Rondo of Blood.
Gotcha.
I think Trevor is from the original, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have, and we've said this on our past Castlevania podcast, like none of us have any
We don't
sort
have
of
any background
base in the games, and we're still really enjoying the show. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a great thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Castlevania for the most part, it's an IP owned by Konami,
Yep.
the people who own Metal Gear and Silent Hill, and for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a dead IP.
I was gonna say it's been dormant for a while.
Yeah,
They really haven't
there
done
were
much.
some games on the 360 generation,
Right.
like Lords of Shadow, I think is what they were called.
Okay.
And I don't know if they were received like super well, but like this anime, and it's an American anime, a Western anime, which is even cooler, has really kind of, I think, resurfaced the IP and the interest in like doing things like this. Your mic, oh no, I think it was just the lighting. I'm like, your mic was looking really strange. You're good. Yeah, and yeah, I've really been enjoying the exposure to this IP.
I agree.
Especially with Nocturne. Like, I'm like, oh, we're going to get it. You know, we're going to Richter.
Right.
Awesome. And yeah, and again, he's so much different from Trevor.
He is.
Like, totally different. He's younger, so that also changes things. But
Bit less reserved, I would say, for sure. Right. I'm trying to remember Trevor a bit more, especially at the beginning. He's very, like, mysterious and is just kind of moving from town to town, killing monsters and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. And then he kind of gets mixed up in the Dracula of it all. And then, yeah. And like the set piece is really cool. The clothing is really cool. So I have a comment to make.
Is it about Tara's ginormous breasts?
Is that the name? Is that her name?
That's the mom.
No. I didn't even notice her boobs.
Really?
Now you're talking about it.
That's so funny. But I will say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do a quick side tangent. I would be more turned on by most of these vampires than scared if they took me in. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. So what's the black vampire, not Oryx, the girl? What's her name?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
One thing with these shows, 8 episodes with odd names, it's hard to.
I think Drolta.
Drolta. Okay.
I'm guessing that's the.
I didn't quite understand. I understood what they were going for, and it was like, oh, she's a black Yas Queen vampire, but I'm like, I don't like. She's wearing like heels I've only seen in like porn. Like I'm like, I don't quite.
It's very.
I don't quite get this look.
She's very BDSM.
Yeah,
in style.
I'm like,
yeah.
And like with the pink hair, I'm like, it's 1700s. Like you can only like, and I do one thing I will do say, a lot of the characters' colors really pop.
Yeah, they are. They're super
and
vibrant.
hers as well. But
Yeah.
I was like, she is such a juxtaposition to anything else that's going on.
See, I think
it kind of turned me off at the start.
Sure.
But then I kind of warmed up to it, and I was okay with it. But I was just kind of like. I'm like, I feel like
looks like it's definitely like BDSM looking gear for sure, and
Yeah,
I think that it was an interesting design. I think it's very unique for sure within this show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I will say it didn't stick out to me as much as I feel like it is. I was just too.
I was like in our Discord. I'm like, yeah, she is black Yas Queen.
Yeah, it's so. I don't think they
like, which is fine
for
but
sure.
It was
You know
just
what's so
such
funny
a
though?
strange look for the time.
You're saying
period.
just based off the look, yeah.
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
based
I
off
don't
the
think her
time
attitude
period.
is like necessarily
no.
that.
It had nothing to do with how she
yeah.
acted. I was just like, the look is just strange as
It's
hell.
very different. Were there any
How are you
black
dyeing your hair
vampires
pink?
in the other? I think that's just magic or whatever. I don't know. Like
Right.
I'm kind of willing to.
No,
that didn't really stick out to me.
We had a very diverse set of vampires
and characters for sure. I definitely felt like they took that.
The Native
in stride.
American vampire Oryx was a pretty interesting idea.
I agree.
I was like, interesting. I'm like,
You know, it was so that scene where he first meets the Templar dude. I can't remember his name.
yeah,
It was
because of them.
I will give it to them.
Merrick, Mardick,
something like that.
Yeah.
It was sexual tension done well because I was like, do these guys want to fuck? What's going on here?
Oh, yeah, they fuck.
And then they fuck. I'm like, that makes sense. You laid that down. Yeah, I thought the character design and everything in general was very cool. I didn't really love the Vampire Queen, to be quite honest.
like both
the
her
Messiah.
forms.
Yeah, like I thought her earlier form was kind of interesting, but then the second one was kind of weird.
Yeah, you know what's funny? She's like the main villain, but like for some reason she didn't really feel like the main villain.
The other girl was the Drolta girl.
I wouldn't even.
I felt like Drolta was the bad guy of the season. Whereas like the other girl is the ultimate bad guy, and I was
and
like,
we'll see her in season 2,
and
which
she's
is
gonna be the
confirmed.
main foil in season 2, and I will give it to them. By the end, I was like, what the fuck's gonna happen here? Because
Yeah.
like they are. I don't want to get into
they do
super
hype
quick,
up the vampire Messiah. They really hype that up like really hard, like for the first few episodes, and then we get to see her and she comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
But like we don't really see that come to fruition, and I think that's my only negative thing. I like the show just kind of ends right when things are coming to a boil
for
here.
sure. And
and like we get a reveal. I don't want to get to it just yet, but like the reveal at the end, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, and I'm like, wait. I know it was 8 episodes, but there has to be another one. No, it's over.
See,
what?
honestly, it really did feel more like, and I forgot that the first season of Castlevania was only like four episodes. And
I binged that and like I was like, I'm gonna sit
it was
down and do
literally
this.
2
One
hours.
go, yeah.
And I feel like this is more akin to that, where it's like, this is the setup season.
Yeah,
this is the
like,
thing that's getting people going and
yeah.
getting your pieces into place.
They didn't have their second season bought in like when they made this and when they put it out. Like they got it as of recording. They have a second season.
Yeah, I saw that at the end last night when I was watching. That's cool.
Yeah. So Yeah, I guess the season, even this season, was like, hey, we're trying to get this, I guess, and like we don't.
But at the same time, we are setting up a possible future. For
yeah,
this,
like hey, we want to do a second season, so we're gonna act like it, but we don't have it yet. But they got it.
And you know what? I think that's great. They leaned into it and they know what they're doing. And I mean, you saw that they got 4 seasons of Castlevania, or 5. And you know, I'm assuming they had pretty they had a lot of confidence in the idea that they could get that second season. And I'm glad that they are getting it because, yeah, I mean, you get a great reveal at the end. I thought, you know, Richter's kind of whole journey was interesting. And the reveal with his, spoilers, with his grandpa showing up, I kind of thought... Juice, right. Ian McDermott, actually, too, which was cool.
Mizrak is that Templar's name.
Right.
I brought up the names.
Yeah, please. I had him here too, but I'm like, who is who?
Yeah, I'm like,
the guy has like an actual beard, kind of like the dude in the show too, which is funny, at least on his IMDb profile. Yeah, I thought his whole kind of story was very interesting, and the idea of he just hadn't got really over the trauma of his mom dying, and that made him lose his powers. And I kind of forgot that, yeah, of course, Sypha and Richter, or not Richter. Who was the original Belmont in Castlevania? Trevor. Of course they got together. I forgot at the end.
Yeah, and I like the Sypha mention. And that seems to be why Richter has powers.
Yes, yeah, he mentions that we had a powerful ancestor, Sypha.
Sypha, know all about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
he doesn't really talk like that, but, you know.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I'm Tim Morrison now.
He's in there somewhere. His whole setup of he like had this traumatic event, he saw his mom murdered in front of him, and it lost Julia. His connection to his magic,
the trauma,
and basically that's brought back out again from him being put in the same position almost, but on the reverse side of him.
Dude, that fight scene on the lake, I was like, fuck it. Dude.
I haven't felt that kind of like pump up from watching a show in a while.
It was like such an awakening too. Like
it really was.
You know, I really like. That was one thing, like, yeah, like, Richter is much more vulnerable than Trevor is.
For sure.
And I think it's because of the age thing,
definitely,
mostly.
Yeah, and, you know, he hasn't been able to train
Richter's
with a
like
Belmont.
19.
He's trained himself, basically, right,
yeah,
since he got there, so...
Yeah.
And he's kept the whip and everything.
And Juiced is kind of like a hardened motherfucker, like, you know...
Kind of a piece of shit, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's like, because when he goes back to Terra and he's like, oh, yeah, you met Juiced? And he's like, yeah. And he's like... kind of a dick.
And again, you know what's so funny? It
kind
was
of a dick.
He was used as a great misdirection in the fact of like, I thought we were kind of going to get more out of him. We just kind of figure out he's kind of a piece of shit.
I assume we'll be back in season 2.
I think so too.
Yeah, you know,
like
he'll take up a weapon.
Yeah,
and come fight.
He kind of quit vampire hunting after his wife was murdered. And then,
so a similar trauma experience.
Absolutely.
Kind of disconnected or...
And he could use magic too, right? Like severed or something.
No, when you leave a family, you're there's a
I know what you're yeah a separation of something. I know I'm trying to think of the word, but
it'll come
it'll come back up. Do not come. Yeah, it was very interesting, and I thought he was going to kind of play more. I think you're right. He's going to come back, but you realize that he just estranged. That's it. Yeah, he just kind of didn't take care of Richter when he came back to England, even though he was there, and or France, I should say,
across the lake,
literally like a mile away.
And even when he like, I think he's crying, and he like tries to like console him.
It's that he's like, I don't know if I should really get involved. Yeah, and also he's like, is it just too late to do anything? Like I'm fucked. And yeah, I kind of thought he was gonna be the one that came at the end there, like that moment where, can we talk about it?
Fucking Alucard, man.
Dude, so yeah.
Straight out of Symphony in the Night with his white hair now.
So yeah, I'm like, what is gonna happen here? Because like the pink-haired vampire is coming to... Yeah. He's coming, or he just shows up, and it's a great cut of like, you think Richter's getting stabbed, and then you get the reveal of like, oh no, the pink-haired bitch is getting stabbed.
Yeah. And Drolta dies, right?
Yeah, she's done. She's...
Yas Queen, dead queen.
That's why I feel like she was the villain. I was like, oh, there it is.
She was the villain.
We got the closure on that of her getting killed. And then, I am Alucard, son of Dracula. I faced 1,000 vampires before you. They have all lied dead. The same will happen to you. And I'm like, oh, like, why didn't I think that was like, it was so good. It was. I don't know why. I'm like, yeah, of course he's a fucking live. Where, like, why would he die? It was... Yeah. He looks, and he's just this like gleaming white vampire with a gold. So he's he half vampire? I'm trying to remember.
Half vampire, half human.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's interesting how that can happen.
Yeah, and he looks like he looks in Symphony of the Night, because like on the cover of Symphony of the Night, he's holding his sword, and white skin, white hair, really long,
like very pale.
Yeah, so I'm glad they've kind of evolved him, and I can't wait to
see where it's going. Yeah,
he's gonna be like, Trevor, what the fuck.
And I'm curious. Like, I'm sure he's been, I guess, keeping track of the Belmonts and stuff that,
right,
and that way, and
right. Doing his own
he's kind of
thing.
seen what's going on,
fighting the vampire war on his own front.
Absolutely,
I'm sure.
and he saw the eclipse, I guess, and he's like, I've been trying to find
fucking vampire messiah, gotta fucking kill her.
Yeah, so she is like. They bring in Egyptian mythology.
Yeah,
she's
Sekhmet.
Yeah,
and Sekhmet is the crocodile god.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is a god of war. Is that the idea?
She
is. Yeah.
She like Egyptian gods are gods of like many things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, apparently. So her name is Ezrabet Bathory. That's her full name.
And she somehow got the blood of Sekhmet and drank it, right? And that's how she became so powerful. Was the idea? Yes.
Yeah, and it sucks what happens to Tara. I'm like, oh no, Mom.
I actually really liked her a lot.
No.
Like I don't know how you didn't notice her boobs. Like they
yeah,
were wild.
I didn't.
They're like hanging over her corset.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm probably paying too much attention to it, but it's just so funny to me.
I don't blame you.
Listen, hey, I really do love the animation style of these shows, and some of the fights got a little choppy. Yeah,
I think the choppiness is a part of the style.
It's definitely intended for sure. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's just how. I don't know.
I feel
do
like
animes kind of do that
more.
same?
Like they're not going to. Like I'm seeing like everything.
There was at one point in the like final battle with Richter and the bad vampire where I was kind of losing it. Like I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and then it pulled back.
Maybe that was supposed to display her power because again, we really haven't been exposed to her. We've just been seeing her sucking on some necks, like not really fighting. So we probably did need to see a display of power
for sure.
And absolutely fuck Richter up with his white handbag.
Dude, that moment where he like slides back. And like he like powers up his feet, like he like shoots off the ground and knees her in the. There was some really his, like, amazing choreography. Yeah, the use of magic in this, I thought it was very good in Castlevania, but like I don't know why this time around it stuck out even more.
I mean,
her like summoning powers too and stuff.
Yeah, Sypha's magic is pretty base and like the elemental, but with like let's go over to Annette and Edouard. Because they're pretty interesting characters, and she uses, she has magic from like her African roots,
ancestors, and stuff.
It's like she like transmutes earth into weapons. It's very
like an
different.
earthbender to a degree. Yeah, but like
and I kind of liked her Adewale-esque story because she is from Haiti.
Yeah.
She's a maroon technically. She's from Saint-Domingue, I think is the city, and like you kind of get her and Edouard's backstory about how she was a slave and she had a vampire slave master and she became free and she started the revolution there, and now she's the reason her and Edouard are in France is because they know about the vampire messiah, but also the French revolutionaries,
right?
And the French Revolution is a pretty complex issue. It's much more gray than the American Revolution, where
they
like,
did some questionable things. But again, we probably didn't do some questionable things.
We were fighting the British, and it was pretty clear like it was the British versus the Americans. But like
that,
with
it was
the French,
brother
they're
versus
fighting
brother, and they're just
each other.
Yeah,
and
it was less.
They're killing people for like any sort of
much less distinct.
Yeah, and I think you see that in Castlevania. They 100%. Display that like the rich versus the poor, the class division,
and you even see like the townspeople like they have a lot of trust in the church, and like the pastors taking advantage of that to like. Say this Messiah's coming, who is really just a vampire. It's very interesting. I think the backdrop of the French Revolution was an interesting and like different way to go. For sure.
Yeah. What did you think about Annette and Edouard? Especially,
I thought it was really cool
how they deal with Edouard, especially.
I didn't really love that subplot, to be honest.
Really?
It just kind of felt like. I don't know. It's not that it was bad by any means. I just was the least interested in that one.
I found it interesting that we explored the humanity of
like the night creatures.
Because like
did they not do that in the other ones at all?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, it sounds terrible to be turned into a night creature.
He
I'm not gonna lie.
like some of them retained their humanity and like like.
And so, do you think that comes down to the priest not doing it correctly?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
Also, I would have killed that night creature. Why are they keeping it in a cage? Like what? I guess he's trying to test it and see what went wrong or something. Because if it's not following,
I thought the idea is that they're just keeping them in a cage when they're ready to fight.
Well, no, because all the other ones are guarding him. He's the only one because all of them listen to the priest.
I kind of assumed there were more in the cages, but maybe you're
interesting.
Right.
I didn't really notice that. Dude, whoever designs those night creatures, must have a blast because you're just literally like,
They're like
all right,
really
what am I
random.
doing? It's a moth vampire creature with dragon wings. Okay, that's
with
good.
hands over its face.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And some of them get really like another guy's like a weird 3-headed being with a skin cape. Like, I don't know. It's cool. I gotta give it to them. There's so many amazing and really interesting designs within the show. And dude, Richter's getup.
You like the black? You like the blue?
I like the short, and I like just all the flayed, like his like
Yeah.
curled up sleeves and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah. So let's talk about Maria's magic because she kind of reminded me of like a ranger druid type,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like summoning of these animals to fight, and
Yeah.
like like one of them gets killed and she like buries it. It's
Mm-hmm.
and but like she has like a whole plethora of fucking animals.
Yeah, dude, I'll give him credit for differentiating her, especially, and just the design of the moment when she's in the fight and she's just creating 1,000 portals. It just looks so smooth and like well done
Yeah,
and thought out, and it
And again, much different from Sypha and even Annette. Like
Absolutely.
their power
yeah.
swath.
Absolutely, and I think I didn't even think about that in the original Castlevania. You really only do see like elemental style magic, so I think that's a very interesting and cool break. I would love to see. I guess we've had it a few times.
Familiars.
Familiar, right? Yeah.
I'm looking at her wiki. I'm just
Like
kinda
what she like summons. Yeah,
Yeah, just like getting a little bit of a.
they all do seem to be like these crazy wild magical creatures. I loved the turtle a lot. That one moment that she has with the. When she's fighting the
end?
big van. Yeah, it was very good. I was like, what's going to happen here? I did appreciate that they were like able to kind of stand up to these vampires, but then once the queen came in, they were just like, nah, we're fucked. Just great stuff. I really enjoy the show.
Yeah.
I watched like 5 episodes in a night.
Yeah, I did. I doubled up every night. So two.
It was funny. I was going to do that, but then like I got on a roll that one night when I was texting you. I'm like, no, I'm just going to keep going. Like, because I might as well get it done. And then I just had the one episode to watch last night.
I think the only other thing we didn't talk about was Ulrich's, and I mean, we like touched on it, but like,
Yeah, he turns a little. Like,
yeah, and it like kind of like has an Alucard type of moment where, and I guess we kind of see this where like there's vampire infighting,
Yeah.
and they don't all agree with it.
Absolutely.
I think the female vampire in the castle Callista, is that her name? Callista?
Yeah.
Like
so.
even within like her court, like there was clearly like infighting and like not everyone was like super down with like what Dracula was doing and like yada yada. And you kind of see this here where like he's not bowing. He's not down with any of this or something.
And he's like,
And
why
we
am I-
don't really know why though.
I think
I think it's just like his like his morality and his
Well,
MO.
and I do
He's just
think
like he's not in line.
he's a
with this.
Native American who saw some probably crazy shit when
Yeah.
he's like he
And
doesn't
his-
like power.
Yeah.
I think he's just like I don't want to bow to anyone. I'm not gonna bow to you. What like that? I'm not gonna let you control. Like I don't want to be serving you.
Just like
I won't
Annette.
be a servant.
She doesn't want to be a slave.
Yeah, exactly.
Which,
So-
which is actually, I like did not think of this until just now. There's an interesting juxtaposition between those two characters.
Absolutely.
Because they are oppressed peoples.
Of course,
And they-
especially at that time, for sure.
I mean, and
Yeah.
I guess were, because they're both free.
Yeah,
Quote unquote.
But again, you're not for your skin color back then. And I loved Aurochs's green eyes. I will say, like it was very interesting.
Again, he
Very
pops with his green eyes, with his purple.
recognizable.
Annette has the yellow, with the contrast with like her, her being black, like it pops.
yeah, they're like gold almost. Yeah.
Maria with like the white and the pink, and Richter with the white and the blue. Like they're like the palettes are just cool.
Yeah.
And again, even what's her name?
Tara, the mom,
Drolta.
Jolta.
Like
yeah.
again, like it like I didn't like the pink of her, like the black, not her just being black, but her black outfits, and the pink hair like popping, and her becoming a demon was cool.
It was.
Then I was like, oh okay, like that's cool.
See again, that's why.
And she
that
does have
made
a
me
lot of
excited.
like different looks, but I was just
sure.
like, why does she look like she's just like a 2023 dominatrix?
No, for sure. And
Like,
again,
what's going on here?
She wouldn't scare. I mean, she'd probably scare me with the teeth, but
just
at the
want
same
her to
time, I'd be
step
like,
on
you can kill me. That's fine. I don't mind. Just make it quick. Yeah, the terrified, like all of the like terrified expressions at some points are really funny in the way of like they're like it's
Very
just they're
anime.
bringing it's very anime, and it's so funny to be really exposed to that because I don't watch a lot of anime. This is probably the
don't,
closest to anime that I will get. And do you think that this follows a lot of those same tropes of like animes you've watched and stuff like that?
No.
Because it is a Western anime, of course, like you said.
No. Honestly, if anything, it kind of reminds you of Attack on Titan, but Attack on Titan isn't really anime-esque. Like there's no like there's like the betrayals, the
Right.
classic like anime betrayal in Attack on Titan, but like
It
really doesn't really seem to follow its genre's scheme.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm looking forward to more. I wonder
I
how
am too,
long
man.
it's going to take for us to get season 2.
I would hope that they were kind of like I'm assuming the story's obviously already done. They just probably need to start
Yeah,
getting
I'm
anime.
assuming they kind of know what's going or going to go.
Avi Arad, man, he knows he does some great stuff. I'll give it to him.
What'd you call him, huh?
Avi Arad? Isn't that the guy who did this?
Avi Arad? No, it's Adi Shankar.
Who's Avi Arad?
Avi Arad is a Sony executive who's been
That's
involved
right.
with
That's the
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man guy.
Yeah, it's Adi
classic.
Shankar.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
and he did that Far Cry Blood Dragon show.
yeah, he's doing that, and he's doing like that like weird like Ubisoft mix, like Captain Thunder.
That's what it is.
Oh, that's what that
the
is.
Blood
It's already
Dragon
out?
thing.
Oh,
that's what it
interesting.
is. It's a Far Cry Blood Dragon.
Right.
Like anime.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's kind of funny that Castlevania did start with him. All those. Like, I don't know. Like how. I don't think he's really in. Like, I don't really know if he's involved in Nocturne.
I think he is. Yeah, no, I think he's still the producer, and I'm
Adi
assuming
Shankar.
because he just did an
Castlevania
interview
Nocturne.
with like IGN with them about it. I'm pretty confident. He had a really cool picture of him with like a sword on the as a cover.
Yeah,
for
he's
it.
he looks like an anime character himself.
He really does.
But
I appreciate it. Good for him.
let's see. I'm not gonna be able to find it fast enough.
No, it's I know he's definitely involved in some like I think pretty majorly still. He was supposed to do an Assassin's Creed show too, animated
Yes, he
show,
was.
and we haven't heard anything about it. And that makes me sad because I do think he could do that series like some real justice, especially with some action shots and
Yeah,
things
Captain
like
Laserhawk is that show. I'm going to his IMDb real quick. I'm generally want to see what his credits are, especially compared to the last one. All right, producer. Okay, here it is. He was an executive producer.
Right.
Yeah, so he was also an executive producer on the original. Okay, so he wasn't.
Yeah, he's heavily
He
involved
was
in
the
it,
same
yeah.
role. I just didn't see him talking about it that
Yeah,
much. Like
yeah.
you know, I guess like for the first one, he was like
that. A little bit more out
really
there
promoting
to,
it.
yeah,
But
to
I feel
promote it.
like
maybe he doesn't need to do that as much now.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But great show. Like
Fantastic show.
You're in and you're out, and I think you're hooked. And if you weren't hooked before, you're gonna be hooked now. So go back to the original
sure.
show and go watch that.
An insanely easy recommendation if you've watched the first one, and even still a good recommendation even if you haven't seen the other one. I would definitely say go back and watch the original Castlevania if you like this. But yeah, really great stuff, Gooch. Thank you for having us review this because I would not have
thanks
watched
for-
it. Like I
thanks for
said,
doing it.
absolutely. Everyone, if you've been watching us with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your favorite platform. We are on all this on all the social medias as well. Delco Nerds on basically everything. We got a Facebook page, Discord channel. You can also email us all your comments, questions, or concerns. DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. All this information can be found on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. For Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.